So increase in price of pizza bread. Now we are aware pizza bread is a good substitute for pizzas. So the question arises, how will rise in price of a substitute good will affect the market for pizzas? So to solve this question, you have to be very clear whether this is a shifter of demand or supply. So remember when we are talking about substitute goods or even complementary goods, those are known as change in price of related goods. So this is a determinant of demand. So when price of pizza bread rises, the demand for pizza rises as well. Definitely, now pizza bread is expensive. So people who were consuming pizza bread will now shift towards buying pizzas. So remember pizza is at the same price, and when the demand will rise, you will move on to a new point with the same price, but the suppliers cannot increase their supply in short run. They need some time to respond to the changes. So the market price of pizza would increase, and then you will move on to a new equilibrium point where demand intersects supply. And then you have to analyze where what happens to the new equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So as you move on to the new equilibrium point, price and quantity rises as well. So this is the market for pizzas, and the scenario is there is an advancement in technology, as in there is a new appliance or a new machinery which cuts the baking time in half and even require less resources to produce pizzas. So advancement in technology is a shifter of supply. So as you know, this is a shifter of supply. The second thing is, will the supply curve shifts toward right or towards left? So advancement in technology saves your resources and you'll be producing more pizzas in less time. Definitely this is saving your cost of production. And when you have less cost of production, you supply more. So your supply curve moves towards right. And at the new equilibrium point, you see that equilibrium price is less and equilibrium quantity is higher. So price of cheese rises, and we are aware cheese is an important resource into production of pizzas. So here we know that this is a direct shifter of supply. So the question arises, what happens when an input price rises? Definitely your cost of production increases too. So given a limited budget, you supply less. And as you supply less, what happens to equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity? Equilibrium price rises from 15 to 20 and the quantity decreases from 40 to 30. So remember, whenever price of an input increases, your cost of production rises as well. And when price of an input decreases, your cost of production decreases. Thus, you supply more in that case. What happens to the market of pizzas when price of pizza falls? Does this affects supply or this affects demand? Remember, price does not changes demand or supply. Price only affects quantity demanded and quantity supplied due to law of demand and law of supply. You know, law of demand says there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity. And law of supply says there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. So let's see what happens to the market of pizzas when price of pizza decreases. So initially you're at market equilibrium point where price is 30 and demand is equal to supply at quantity 80. And there is a reduction in price from 30 to 10. So at this point you notice the equilibrium is distorted. Your supply is 20 As the price is 10, which is quite low, you only have 20 suppliers. Whereas on the other hand, there are 120 consumers. Definitely, this is because of law of demand. Less price induces us buyers to buy more because it's cheaper. So this situation leads to a shortage because supply is less than demand. And how much shortage you're experiencing now? So demand is 120 and there are only 20 suppliers, so a shortage of 100. And on the other hand, suppose if price rises, so again you move on to the equilibrium point, which is 30, and price rises from 30 to 50. Now how does this affect the market? Again, your market equilibrium is distorted. You notice the consumers are only 20 now and the suppliers are 120. So when demand is less than supply, this is an overproduction which leads towards a surplus, and that is because of law demand and law supply. A higher price is an incentive for suppliers to expand their production and supply more. But on the other hand, it induces us to buy less. But the question is, how do you fix this shortage or this surplus without government intervention if you're talking about free market economies? So price is the underlying variable. So suppose you're experiencing a surplus which is overproduction, and here you have less consumers and more suppliers. How do you fix it? You put your items on sale. You put all the items on discount or few out items on sale, so this will increase the sales and increase the demand because the price will go low. And on the other hand, suppliers will supply less because price is decreasing. This will fix surplus. And on the other hand, how do you fix a shortage? Shortage arises when the price is less because the suppliers, they do not want to prefer producing more at a lower price. But on the other hand, we prefer to buy a lot. So if the market price rises of the commodity, this will automatically decrease the demand and increase the supply. So this is how you fix a shortage and a surplus. This one is an interesting case. There is a donkey meat found in pizzas. How will people react to this? Definitely, this is a shifter of demand because after being aware that restaurants are using donkey meat to produce pizza, this will change their preferences and they will not prefer to consume pizzas. So, this will decrease the demand and demand curve will shift towards the left. And at the new equilibrium point, you notice there is a decreased price and also a fall in quantity.